So Kevin McKenzie is here. He's going to start off by singing a few songs. The service is not for a couple minutes, but he's going to bring us into that Shabbat mood.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom.
What a delight it is to welcome Kevin McKenzie up on this bima. Some years ago, I know that Susan will talk about this sometime later, he was up helping us with the high holidays and with a lot of other occasions. He's in his third year of Hebrew Union College. Actually, you've completed 2 years, 3 more years of Hebrew Union College to go as their cantorial program. And so I'll use that, and you get this.
Thank you much.
There you go. That we have a chance to encourage a young student on his way and to hear a new voice. Right now, Dan Yolis and Rabbi Kalman are at Westlands Park. They're doing an outside service, which is wonderful and lovely. So we thought we would do today is have because a new voice. Now, here the deal is. Tomorrow morning at, I don't know what it is, you're flying off to New York, and so we literally counted it. We'll talk about that as well. So we are on the fly, in transition, so how wonderful it is. Now, more and more of us are here. We have a lot of people online as well. Ron Leff is in the back doing the Wizard of Oz, no, this back over here. Wizard of Oz thing, pulling the levers. So go ahead and turn in your prayer book to page 142. That's the blue numbers in brackets, and Susan and Kevin and I invite all of us to sing Shalom Aleichem, and we welcome the Sabbath and welcome each other.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malach Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We're going to turn back to page 121, 120 for the lighting of the Shabbat candles. And we don't often read the selection on the bottom of the page, but how wonderful it is tonight that we can say, bless all who enter this sanctuary. We have so many of you here at Temple Sinai, and we welcome virtually all those who are in their homes who are joining this sanctuary as well. Before we light the candles, let's say together, O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. And
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Go.
Okay, so we're going to flip to the back of our Siddur to page 635, and there you will find a poem written by Chaim Nachman Bialik, who is an Israeli poet, and it's sort of a compliment to Lecha Dodi as we welcome Shabbat into our community, into our home. Again, we're on page 635.
So there's an important refrain that I want to make sure that we get down at the very beginning. So all we're going to do is just sing the first little bit together, and we'll come back to it time and time again. And then once we get to Lecha Dodi, you'll know what to do. So. Boi hamalka, boi kala, shalom alechem, malachei hashalom. Boi hamalka, boi kala, shalom alechem, malachei hashalom. So that's your part. It's a very easy refrain. We'll come back to it a few times, as well as Lecha Dodi. So now that you've heard it, try singing along. Boi hamalka, boi kala, shalom alechem, malachei hashalom. Boi hamalka, boi kala, shalom alechem, malachei hashalom. Acham amerosh, ha'ilana nistalka, bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat hamalka. Hine hi yoredet hakdusha habrucha, ועם מלאכים, צבא שלום ומנוחה. בואי המלכה, בואי הכלה, שלום עליכם מלאכי השלום. בואי המלכה, בואי הכלה, שלום עליכם מלאכי השלום. It is so lovely to be able to sing with you all. It really is. It's a pleasure. I think this is actually my first service back in person since the entire pandemic has started.
So one of the best ever.
Absolutely. I haven't had a best one yet this year. Let's try that melody one last time. Boi amalka, boi akala, shalom aleichem malachei hashalom. Boi amalka, boi akala, shalom aleichem malachei hashalom.
And now we'll turn to page 130. Again, blue numbers in the brackets. As we join together for Kabbalat Shabbat, singing Lechu Neranena. Ready? Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Ladonai. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Ladonai. Naria, Naria, Letzui Shenu, Nikama Chada Betoda. Naria, Naria, Letzui Shenu, Bizmirot Naria Lo. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Ladonai. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Ladonai. Yismechu Hashamai, Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamai, Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. V'tagel haaretz. Yismechu Hashamai, Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. V'yarem haaretz. Yeramayam, Yeramayam, Yeramayam umlo. Yeramayam, Yeramayam, Yeramayam umlo. Yismechu Hashamai, Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. V'tagel v'aretz. Lecha Dodi on page 138. Lecha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabla. More v'zachor v'dibor echad Ishmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad, Hashem echad, Hashem u'tiferet v'tila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nercha, ki mekor habracha. Merosh mikadem
נצוחה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תפילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלם. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלם. Verse 5. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורק קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Verse 9, we rise and face the entrance to our sanctuary, to our rooms, to welcome Shabbat as if she were a bride.
בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך שבת נקבלה. So now turn around, you can greet each other, say Shabbat Shalom. You might even lower it down and say, hey, there's a face under here. Shabbat Shalom to everyone online. You can give each other big old hugs. We're still in the mask protocol, so all of our members out here still have the mask, but that's going to be under review for the week to come. But we wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom, greeting people with the joy of the same enthusiasm and joy that we have when we greet a bride and a groom. So go ahead and be seated, if you will. Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat, Shabbat. The Psalm of Shabbat is on Psalm 92 on page 140. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלינה ועלי היגיון בתינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גדול מעשה אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון.
On the bottom of page 145, we have this beautiful, very short meditation about entrances to holiness. And whether we are here at Temple Sinai, whether we're in our homes, whether we're in the park, no matter where we are, there's an entrance to holiness because we have intention to make that time and that place sacred. And so as we welcome Shabbat, we join together in this words, acknowledging that everywhere we are at any time, that is a holy time, and that is a holy place. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון יומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו
אמן.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעלם ולעל ועלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה
בריחו
לעינה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירה בעלמה ואמרו
Amen. We rise for the call to worship. Page 146, if you're able, please rise as we begin our service. La 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 dum. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Yam ba la la la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya da 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 dum. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach hamevorach leolam vaed. Hamevorach, Hamevorach, Leolam vaed.
On page 148, we join together, blessing God for creating the evening lights. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. We continue with Ahavat Olam on page 150.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך, 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 עמך. Adonai Eloheinu v'shochbeinu, kumenu lasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ולהם נקי יומם ולילה, נקי יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר
Please be seated. We'll continue on page 154. We join together chanting the words of the Haftarah.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
Page 157 in the middle, we find this prayer for redemption. And this is really the first time I have been to a Friday night, a Kabbalat Shabbat service with anybody in the building in a year and a half. I've done a few with Rick online, but because the position that I had, I wasn't able to be here often on Friday night. So this is really like amazing. And to be in a community, to feel that sense of peoplehood, that we have people live, we have people online, it's really fabulous. And we are so close. We're so close to being over this hump with COVID, but it doesn't mean the world is perfect yet. And it doesn't mean that everything is right with the world or in the world. We still have a lot of work to do. And so we recite these words, a prayer of redemption, knowing that the job's not done yet, and we all can do our part in order to help bring that goodness and bring blessing to the world. We read responsibly. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high
Heavens declare your glory,
may
earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by your sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for this day, when nations will be one and at peace. And shall we rejoice, as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Adonai
V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, u'goalo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. On page 160, we find the words of Hashkivenu. We ask God to protect us, to protect Jerusalem during the night. As we say these words, sing these words.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Ashivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim.
Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. We're going to continue on page 162 with V'shamru, but a little heads up. You will be familiar with some of the melody, but one of the things about cantorial school is that we learn not just to be a glorified song leader, but Kevin learns the skill of chazanut, what it means to be a chazan, what it means to be a cantor. And so for the verses, he's going to share with us a gift of something that he has learned in school, and so we shall rejoice.
V'shameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam לדorotam berit olam v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדorotam berit olam v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדorotam berit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael nati le'olam nati le'olam ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. היום השביעי, וביום השביעי שבת, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
That was awesome. Thank you. So we're going to continue with the Amidah, as our tradition is. We'll chant together the Avot, the Gevorot, and Kedusha, and then there'll be some silence. So each of us will have our own private moment of prayer. But if you're able, please rise on 164 for Adonai Sivatai Tiftach. Adonai Sivatai Tiftach, Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Chanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol v'Zoch חסדי אבות באימהון, ומביא גאולה לבני בניכם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר מושיע מגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד אתה. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדם מלך. מלך ממיר ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol she'ai tevel ve'imru Say shalom b'roma, u'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru.
Thank you, Kevin. On page 371, we find prayers for healing. As Kevin led us in the prayer, Oseh Shalom, let there be shalom, peace, but shalom is also wholeness. And those of us who have loved ones, have friends, or are personally dealing with struggle for health, whether it's physical health or emotional health, because man, after a year and a half, we've all had our blows, our body blows, our emotional blows. And so we pray for the healing of so many. And I have a long list, as you know. But the truth is, it's a longer list that I have at home. It's just some people said, Rick, don't read my name out loud. But I know so many of you are making personal calls and dropping off baskets and prayers and just making people feel connected during this time of isolation. God willing, we can bring everyone back soon enough. But as we were about to recite this prayer, this song of healing on 371, right in the middle, I think especially tonight of Ryan Albert, of Mike Babbage, Stan and Sandra Bauer, Andy Bean, Samantha Bernstein, Steve Bolcom and Harold Cohen, Joseph Michael Connor and Cindy Coons, Maxine Dell and Frank and Aaron DeSena, Marty Einhorn, Ron Epstein, Stan Farber, Harriet Feld, Lauren Fishbein, Jack Fisher, Morris Ginsburg, Wendy Glasser, Marlene Gottleman, Jeremy Gold, Kimberly Goldenstein, Alan and Erica Gulnick, Kathy Grazi, Lois Haas, Jerry Hart, Josh Hepner, Miriam Hoopman, Gary Hoskins, Oliver Jack and Steve Kofler, Arnie Lash, Lori Lavenhar, Fred and Judy Lazar, Audrey Lazar, Adrian Levy, David Levy, Juanita Lorenco, Dina Marks, Marianne May, Hugh Miles, Nevitt Montgomery, Atlas Murphy, and Diane Cushman-Neal, Sidney Noko, Rafael Ben-Ruvain Ufega, Jane and Sam Potter, Sarah Purdon, Bernie Rogoff, Alan Rosenberg, Donna Santasavan, Diana Sevilla, John Schuler, Dan and Callista Schwartz, Raj Schwartz, Mark Shaner, Norm Sheldon, Joshua Singer, Mark Sorkin, Sheldon Sperling, Ed Steinberg, Betty Stone, Hal Tabak, Susan Tandler, Stan Ullman, Marlene Waldbaum, Valerie Wasserman, Dorothy Weddy, and Eden Wenig, Jill Witchlands, Jim Wilson, Art Wolfson, Elaine Yaffe, Esther Jenkinson, Aidan Zeman, Dr. Julie and Dr. Scott Zibelman, and Rabbi David Zucker. I know that there are many others that you have in your mind as well, and know online that they're typing those names in. So in your heart, think of them. Let them know that you've been thinking of them. That's what makes the difference. And as we share those prayers in our heart, let us sing out loud the prayer of Refuah Shlema on page 371. Misheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracham Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracham Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with Refuah Shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. So put that down for just a second. I want to talk about transitions for a little bit. The idea about transitions is we're always in that moment where we are moving from one part of the world, one part of our experience to another. Now, it's apropos for us to talk about transitions today, not just because of you. It's Rosh Chodesh Tammuz today. It just ended when the sun set, so it's still a little bit of Rosh Chodesh left with us. Rosh Chodesh Tammuz means the first day of the month of Tammuz. So we already have a little transition. There's also a little bit of transition going on in Eretz Israel, in Israel. A little transition that you might say, okay, there might be a new government with Naftali Bennett and Yair Lapid in Israel being the first new prime minister. It would be Bennett's turn first in 13 years. And one of the first things they mentioned, by the way, both Naftali Bennett and Yair Lapid, was that they were going to reinstitute the agreement that had been made some years ago with Women of the Wall at Jerusalem, at the Kotel. These are women who, led by Anat Hoffman, who are there saying, we have a right not just to be here, but to pray, to bring out our Sefer Torah, to lead a service. And Susan has been proudly a part of that minyan there. And we've had Anat Hoffman, who's the head of that group, here on this bima. And unfortunately, they've had a lot of hassle. They were hassled just yesterday as well, unfortunately. But a change is coming. A transition is being made. So God willing, that'll be one of those transitions. A little bit closer to home. So this, and I don't want to steal all of the thunder you're going to share, but here, Kevin, as he mentioned, hasn't been in a real congregation for a long time. He and my son Sam, they were in Jerusalem 2 years ago, and this year they came back, and Kevin was going to be at the Hebrew Union College campus in New York, and Sam was going to be in Cincinnati, and they're all geared up, and Sam had his own student pulpit. Did you have yours?
Yep.
You had yours, and they're getting all ready and all shined up, getting ready to lead their first congregation, and no, it wasn't going to happen. In fact, even the whole experience in Jerusalem was sort of weirded out. And so they sat instead in front of a screen and did your best to lead a congregation over the internet and to have face-to-face. All of a sudden, not just with all of your papers there and who knows what you were wearing while you led those services. I'm not going to tell if you won't tell. But you're all of a sudden, wow, there's real human beings here. And I've got to juggle all the things. I've got a guitar, I got a prayer book, I've got a couple of rabbis I got to coordinate with. All of a sudden, it's like, wow, this is welcome back to real life. And that's just a little taste of it, Kevin, because shortly you're going to be, I think your furniture's already on the way to New York.
God, yes.
You're going to be flying to New York for your third year. Now, make full comprehension here. He's in his third year of Hebrew Union College, but he hasn't studied a single day at his campus in New York. Now Sam is finally at Cincinnati for his campus, but they haven't started their classes yet. So you'll have that, you'll have your new congregation, and all of these transitions. Now we're in a transition too, right? Each and every one of us. Some of us are fully ready. Now up on the BMO, we've had the policy for a long time that we don't have to have our masks. Pretty soon, I think this coming week, in a couple of days, God willing, we'll have our committee meet once again about the number of people who can be here. And once you're vaccinated, being here at the congregation in person, what's the mask policy? Well, we'll hear from the committee. But I can tell you that we are in a matter of transition. Whether it's going to happen next week or shortly thereafter, I don't know. But you know that we are already in it. How many here have been to a restaurant since over the last couple weeks? Just about everybody. Some of us have been to ball games. Some have been, all of a sudden Susan went to the King Soopers the other day, not to give them a shout out, but I will. A couple of weeks ago, it was mask only by everybody. Then they transitioned to, masks are optional. And now you go in there, no one's wearing a mask. I think the world is ready to transition back to be with each other. Now we still have to be careful. Less than, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit more than 50% of this nation is vaccinated. And we still have a lot of young people who have not yet had the opportunity. It's not their fault. The government's been slow on making sure, but they want to make sure that it's going to be safe for the kids, so that's okay. But we have to take care of those who are younger and get them ready so that they can have a wonderful summer and, of course, get back to school. But soon enough, God willing, the president said by the fall, hopefully we'll have everyone back at campus, everyone back in school, everyone back together. Those are the transitions that we are experiencing. And I wrote in a little message that will be in the Kesher that's coming up that we will have high holidays in which absolutely we're going to be here. And we're going to have a choir here. And Rabbi Kalman will have an alternative services here. And so we'll have opportunity for people to be back together. Yay. Will it be 1,400 people as we used to? Probably not, because a lot of people are still cautious. And I draw the analogy to those who go swimming. Now, those who are real brave swimmers, they just go up there and just dive right in. I was never one of those, right? Primarily because in the old days, swimming lessons were always about, 5 o'clock in the morning. And the water was freezing. I think they had to knock out the ice from the water. It was so cold. And you'd come in, and one brave person would dip the toe in, and as they dipped the toe into the water, you would realize, oh my God, it's freezing. And then everyone would yell at you to just jump in, so we'd go ahead and just jump in. So some of us are ready just to jump in. Some of us are going to dip our toe in and figure out how to do it slowly but surely. But we're all in transitions back to, God willing, a time in which we can be back together. So what I wanted Kevin to address a little bit, since you're here, so that's why you're up here for my long preamble and introduction, is to talk about the transition that you've had. You've had 3 years in Israel. 1 year was Pardes, and then Hebrew, then something else, and then you did theater there, and you did Hebrew Union College there, and now choosing from your life from as a Colorado boy to choosing the cantorate to going to Jerusalem to coming back and starting your journey. So I wanted you to share a few words about your transition, about your musical journey, and where we might see you going from here. So I'm going to shut up and you go ahead.
Well, thank you, Rabbi Ryan, and also thank you both for the opportunity to get to be up here and lead with you. It's an absolute pleasure for me, so thank you. So I want to start with saying that, I grew up in Colorado Springs, and there were 6 Jews in my high school of 1,800. And I always joke with my mom saying, I dated the one other Jew I could. I'm very sorry, Mom. And then I go off to college, and I'm at Boulder, and I'm surrounded by a Jewish population. I'm on Hillel board. I joined API. I was actually surrounded by Jews. And for the first time, I really felt kind of a sense of mishpacha. And I was a Schwader camper. I went to Schwader for 2 summers as a camper, and then I believe 5 on staff or NSIT. I did IST. So I'm Colorado through and through. Did Nifty, Missouri Valley. I did my best to do as much as I could to connect with the Jewish community. And I still don't truly know what got me. But one of the things 100% was the music. When I would go up to camp and see the song leaders, they were the ones that connected all of us. You hear people coming back from camp, and they all say, what was the best part? They say services. That to me is astounding. That we have our young children growing up at camp and appreciating the music and appreciating services. That for me was one of the most powerful moments as well. And I also want to foster that. And so for me, one of the most important things is this community. And I have dabbled a little bit in the community, but I grew up in Colorado Springs. But my family, we would drive up. We'd drive up to Temple Emmanuel. We would drive up to Temple Sinai to go to services from Colorado Springs because there was this sense of mishpacha, there was this sense of community, this sense of belonging, and this amazing musical background at both synagogues. And I truly loved it. And all of my friends were up in Denver. All of my Jewish friends were in Denver. And so I have a very strong connection to this place. And so it's bittersweet that earlier today, actually, after a crazy week, I was able to put all of the stuff that I had from college, I had left it here. It was all in a storage unit, and I had it put in a moving van, and they took it today. So as of now, the only thing I have with me are my bags and what I'm taking to New York. So it's definitely bittersweet for me to be here and at the same time know that this could be one of my last times in Colorado for a while. I don't think that's true. I see myself in the future being in Colorado. I love Colorado. There is no better place than Colorado. When I was in Israel for 3.5 years, anytime I had a break, I traveled. I traveled to Hong Kong, I traveled to Thailand, I traveled to Scotland, I traveled to Italy, and yet I still had a connection, a strong connection, and one that I really do believe. Like, I want to be here. I love Colorado. And it's not just that I have this strong connection, but I think that the mentors around me as well have really played a huge role, whether that's counselors at camp, the rabbis you see up here, their kids as well, who've had a very massive impact on me as well. That's what it is. It's this sense of mishpacha that I feel here. And even in my 3.5 years of Israel, immediately after applying to HUC and being told not yet, I didn't get in immediately. I was shocked, and that I wasn't deterred in any way. I knew that this was what I was going to do. I just had to keep working at it. And so I went off to Israel to be part of the Great Synagogue Choir and to study at a yeshiva for 4 months. And that's why I left my stuff in storage, thinking, okay, 4 months, that's not too bad. I'll come back and get it. 3.5 years later. And so I just learned that I also have that sense of connection in Israel. I felt that exact same connection in Israel. I felt it with the Orthodox Jews whom I'd met and I would sing with in the Great Synagogue Choir. I felt it with the people at the yeshiva. I felt it at Pardes. And I still can't pin, again, I think it might be this sense of family that the Jewish people all have. It could be that, but other than that, I can't pin it down to one thing, but I still have this feeling inside. And so after that 3.5 years, being in Pardes for 1.5 years, which was supposed to be a semester that turned into a year, that turned into 1.5 years, and then going to HUC, and then staying. I stayed for the year online this past year. I only got back 3 months ago. I got back to the States. I was living in Israel, working in New York City online. I wanted to stay connected as much as I could. And so I'm very, very excited for my transition away to a point from a home of mine in Colorado and to new challenges, to new places, to more rent in New York City. And I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be happier to take on this trajectory, this transition, also knowing that I have such a support system here, and I know that I can come back whenever I want. So thank you, guys.
Very much, Kevin. Susan and I, come on up. We are thrilled that you are to be a part of that journey, and we do hope that there will be many opportunities for you to come back as well, that you know that you have friends and support here as well. So we say, sei gesund, as you are on that journey. You know, you don't know how clear those words were. We didn't know when he was actually going to pull up into the parking lot. We thought he was going to have him to our house at first and then come out. He was racing in with a quick change of the clothes, right? Thank God,
Sir.
right? But we made it. Anyway, so mazel tov for you and best of hatzlacha. So as we are going to continue with Aleinu on page 586, would you please rise? Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גלולה יוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו ככם, וגר עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לבני מלך מלכי מלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. יום ההוא ביום ההוא middle. יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. I had to let him press the button, right? Good. Please be seated for just a second as we're going to continue with the Kadisha Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. We're on page 598. We think of our loved ones who have passed away most recently. And just this week, we laid to rest Bob Frischman, the beloved partner of Roberta Gringard and the father of Stacy Delcow and Michael Frischman. We also think of those who've died within the last 30 days. Lou Sapiro, the beloved husband of Estelle Meskin and the father of Tom and Jim. And within this week, we also observe the yahrzeits, the anniversary of the passing of Bernard Abrams, Harvey Block, Julie Caspi Anagnucci, Esther Cohen, Michael Cooper, May DeYoung, Joseph Dworkin, Frederick Engel, Muriel Ephraim, Lawrence Eskanos, Lillian Frischman, Frank Guthrie, Dr. Robert Haas, Jack Hartman, Seymour Hesch, Bernice Jacobson, Walter Carpel, Ray Katz, Lawrence Klein, Lynn Lake, Barbara Landau, Blanche Lacob, Leo Lacob, Alice Levy, Robert Lieb, Joseph Loria, Esther Markowitz, Alfred Mitas, Nancy Miles, Don Nellaway, Sam Ockman, Ken Polkus, Florence Recht, Sam Rossberger, Derek Rudowski, Judy Schwartz, Samuel Schwartz, Evelyn Shaner, Barbara Silverman, Yetta Simler, Martha Stark, Moses Steinberg, Walter Weicker, James Weishaus, William Winograd, and Judy Wolf. As we think of them, we say, Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing. Are there others who are observing a yahrzeit and we miss their names? Okay, let us honor them as we recite the Kaddish Tome. We're on 598, and if you're able, would you please rise? Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, be'alma devrach rotei v'yamlich malchutei, וחיי אחון ויומי אחון וחיי דכל בית ישראל. בעגלה וזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבם מבורך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ותרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירם בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. And the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to those who are bereaved. And we say amen. Please be seated for just a couple of seconds. Just a reminder that we have a goneg. So we can't really yet have everyone gathering together for a real oneg, but we have a little juice, a little wine, a little challah. So right afterwards, if you don't mind, let's grab some of that. You'll see Ron Lev handing those out outside. And you grab it. We'll be on the porch so we can all take our masks off and have a little bit of an oneg. And also be able to have a chance to schmooze. It's nice. It's not too hot outside, so it's quite lovely. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, we have a wonderful service in the Abrams Chapel. And then at 4:30, we have a bat mitzvah of Daniel Kirsten becomes a bat mitzvah here in this Warren Sanctuary. So lots of things going on. Please look on your daily docket for all of the hyperlinks. We have our adult education programs still are mostly online. And just a little reminder, I saw the Zellers earlier, this coming Sunday is the last of, and Gene Guthrie, the last of our Talmud study stories for this, before the summer break. So, even if you haven't been coming to it, you're allowed to come. The Lettys are coming once in a while, and the Last Hours and others. So if you want to come in, it's our last one. You're all welcome. It's at 9:30. That's not too early, right? No, good. Okay. Gene says, I don't know what he's talking about. Okay, so it's early for some. That's okay. But 9:30, it's our last one. Lots of programming coming on as well. So how about what do we have for our closing song?
I think in light of everything we've said, I think Hine Matov, being together.
I love it.
It's a little bit of a somber tone to it. I think it's perfect.
I love it. That's very good. How about Hine Matov? Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. For Kevin and for each and every one of you, Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ye'er Adonai panav alecha v'chuneka, Yisar Adonai panav alecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless and protect you on your journey. May God's light shine upon you so that you feel God's grace. And may God grant you the blessing of shalom, health, happiness, and good joy and peace. And we say, Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.